Let me just adjust the lights. Hello, beautiful family. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on the time you're watching me and wherever you're watching me from. Welcome to Joy Victory TV channel. My name is Joy Victory, and if you're joining me live, thank you for choosing presence. And if you're new here, kindly feel free to subscribe to my channel. Karibu, this is how we do our things. If you're a returning subscriber, I want to say thank you so much for coming back to watch me both on my during my live streams and during my video episodes. So thank you so much. So if you're actually watching this on replay, thank you for choosing self-reflection with Joy Victory. So this channel has always been a space for mental wellness conversations. But as this year begins, I want it to also become a space that creates a good, I want it to also be a space that creates a good environment for learning, growth, and intentional self construction. So healing is important, as I've always advocated for, but healing without direction and redirection can basically leave you emotionally aware, but still as a stagnant person. So tonight's conversation is it has been titled "The Power of Rebranding," and this topic did not just come from a book or maybe social media. It came from a question. Yeah, I like going out there, I like mingling. And now, during my very first meeting of the year 2026, okay, a little background. I've been a leader before, both in school, in organized spaces, and even in founding and running an NGO. I run an NGO by the name the Young Leaders Africa. It's a child's mental health organization whereby I speak mental healing to people, to children mostly. So I've sat in rooms with different kinds of people, both thinkers, both builders, both decision makers, and one of the greatest leaders that I really look up to. I won't mention his name because of his status. He asked me a question during my meetup with him, and he didn't like ask me for my resume. He did not like ask me for my achievements so far, and he also didn't ask me about my vision. He instead asked me a question that really brought up this topic. I remember he asked me like, I think I wrote it down. The question that he asked: you've led people before, you've held positions, you've built things, and tell me, who are you when no one is watching, no title is protecting you, and no one needs you to perform leadership? And also he asked me that, uh, oh, and is that person qualified to live the life that you want next? So that question, basically, it really stayed with me. It followed me quietly, and the longer I sat with it, the more I realized that this question was not just about leadership; it was about self leadership. Brighton's Gaming's this hi. Mary Nyambura said hi. Hi Mary. Brighton said hi. Hi. And then there is this one name, I can't read it. Not hi. So everyone, thank you so much for joining in. We are actually 6 people. Thank you so much. Kindly don't leave without liking. Don't forget, I can see flowers being, I can see likes. Thank you so much for that. Also remember to subscribe to my channel. So yeah, I was talking about the question that I was asked that basically led to today's conversation. So I was talking about how the more I kept staying with the question in mind, the more it taught me that it was not just about leadership position, but it was because it was really about self leadership. And it was also about self-identity and rebranding as to how I can like use as to how I can summarize it all. You understand? So this is why today's conversation is the power of rebranding, and tomorrow at 9 p.m. Kenyan time, I'll be dropping our very first episode titled Self Leadership and Becoming the CEO of Your Own Life. So if this kind of space, actually, if this is a kind of space that you've been looking for and you feel like it's maybe thoughtful for you, I really invite you to subscribe to my channel, because that is the only simple way you can be supporting me. And I'm just not like asking you to come and hype me up. It's just like I'm here to ask for continuity and creating a bigger family that we are so far. So far, the last time I checked, we were at 93 subscribers, and I thank God for that. So if you are here, kindly subscribe to my channel. That is the only way for you to show me your support. And before we go further, let me acknowledge God. I thank God for this far. I also thank God deeply because recently one of you trusted me enough to patronize my work. That is the work of as a voiceover artist. So if you've patronized me either through my professional voiceovers or through my one-on-one mental wellness session, I just want to say that trust is sacred and I do not take this lightly or for granted. And for those interested, I offer professional voiceover services, and also I do one-on-one mental wellness coaching. So you can book me through my email, and my email has been attached on my description, and it will always be there. So if you really want to book me, you can please go to my description and kindly patronize me. That's just a simple way of you supporting me and appreciating the kind of work that I really do. So I have some few questions that I thought we were going to discuss, some few subtopics, and also like have what is it? I also have like I'm going to respond to this question that I was asked. I think it was a little bit deep for us, and I just want to say that God is going to guide us through as we do this. You understand? So yeah. So this question was uh, this question was about tell me who you are and when tell me who you are when no one was watching. This is a question that the person I look up to. He's a great leader here in Kenya. He is a politician, and also he does wellness programs, and also he has done different programs in different parts of the country. So he was asking me these when we were in a certain meeting. So I think in a way, as to how I comprehended his question, I'm going to like ask. I think he was kind of talking about the collapse of public identity. Like when that question was asked, I realized how much leadership is performed and not lived. And we have like two types of leadership. We have the public leadership and we also have the private leadership. And so the public leadership is mostly loud and the private one is mostly quiet. Now, I think this question was redirected to me in terms of the private leadership and not the public leadership. So, if someone, I know someone here might be wondering, like, what's the what's the difference between the public leadership and the private leadership? So private leadership mostly has got witnesses, and it usually has a way to be structured. Like you have to make it look structured, and also mostly it has consequences attached to it. While private leadership, mostly it's quiet and it needs no validation. Mostly there is no applause for it, and it has got no timeline, so there is no deadline that is added to it, and mostly it has got no external reward compared to the private one. So if I understood this person so well, most people really confuse between the two. You can be reliable in publicly, and in private you are very irresponsible, and you can inspire others in public and still neglect yourself when it comes to in private, and you can hold together and still be falling apart internally. So I think that is now what this person was trying to like ask me. And this question mostly it forces a confrontation with the private self. George Kamau said hi. Hi George. Kindly don't leave without subscribing to my channel and don't forget liking. Thank you so much. So I was talking about I was still responding to this question that I was asked, and that led to our today's conversation about rebranding. So I was talking about mostly the version of you that wakes up without witnesses and makes choices without supervision, and it reacts mostly without reputation to protect it, like it has got no reputation that it needs to protect. And from a mental and emotional perspective, this is where integrity now applies, or maybe it's formed or it's structured. Like integrity mostly is not about mostly it's not morality. You know, most people confuse integrity with morality. It's not morality. And usually okay, how I can say that mostly integrity is centered, like it's alignment, and it is when your private behavior does not really contradict your public identity. And so many leaders out here really burn out because not because leadership is heavy on them, but it's because they're carrying two versions of themselves, one that is for the world and the other one that is now behind those closed doors. So rebranding begins the moment like you decide uh, these two versions can no longer exist separately. Like you have to you have to center them. You understand? So still on this question that I was asked, I'm going to again talk about was the it was is that person qualified to lead the life you want to stay the life you want to say next. So I think for me, if I went back to look at how my life has been structured, this person at times doesn't qualify to live the life I wanted, and at times this person in me qualifies to live the life I wanted. So here I'm kind of talking about experience, which is mostly not enough. And this part of the question is uncomfortable because it exposes a lie that adulthood has taught us. And that is that experience automatically equals to readiness, or at times, you know, say people say that experience is the best teacher. So experience at times does not mean that you're ready for something. So that is basically how I can interpret this question that I was asked. And if you can have experience and still lack discipline, I think it doesn't really work so well. And you cannot like have exposure and still lack emotional regulation. You need to like regulate yourself emotionally. And you know, some people also can have like networks and still lack self governance. Like you have the, I think this is self explanatory. So mostly when a leader is like asked if this person that he or she is in private is qualified to live the life that they really wanted to live next, most of them will say no, because basically this question is about like, have these people really upgraded their habits to match the visions that these leaders carry. And another thing about this question again is like, have you really strengthened your character to sustain your future? And have you really like outgrown the identity that was necessary for your survival, but also that but it was kind of insufficient for your leadership? So that is how this question is. And with all this question, it got me thinking, and I thought like the power of rebranding was one. Now, because rebranding again is not cosmetic, it is a qualification of work. It's the process of becoming internally fit for externally visible responsibility. So that is how I can shorten this whole question. And I have some few subtopics that I'm going to tackle when it comes to rebranding yourself that I just feel like we needed to hear from before we call it a day. You understand? So like I'm going to kind of explain the meaning of rebranding. I just know I was giving a little background of how this topic came about, and I was also like trying to just like give you to make you understand that what to make you understand what really rebranding is. So we have different things that we're going to explain here, and what else was I trying to say? Hi, karibuni sana. I just want to say thank you so much for always coming back to join my live stream to watch me. You guys, I don't take you guys for granted. You guys are the best. Your support is really immense, and I just want to say thank you to God for you. So I'm going to explain the meaning of rebranding, and I'm not going to talk about the internet version that most of us maybe have heard from the personal branding strategists. And I'm not also going to talk about what sorry, there is noise outside. I'm also not going to tackle it basing on the aspect on of personal branding, but we're just like talking about us. This is like a mental health conversation. In one way, we're trying to learn on how we can re-identify ourselves without seeking external opinions. So when I talk about the meaning of rebranding, it's basically it's I think it's the how can I say it? It's not about the logo or maybe the aesthetics. Nicholas Otieno, you good? Yes, I'm doing fine. How about you, Nicholas? Canab Castle, who is a bad guy? Who is a bad guy? Key, stand up really quick. Why should I stand up? Net Ndungu Kimani, now. How are you, Net? Everyone who has joined in, how are you doing? Net Ndungu, hi. Kindly subscribe to my channel. That's the only way that you guys can be supporting me. I just need your support here. Let's go together. Let's grow for continuity. Let's grow for learning, relearning, and also unlearning new things. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm great. You look cute. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate your kind message. I really do appreciate you. So before we proceed, any other person who wants to say something on the chat box first, you can still like feel free to type anything. I just want to see the kind of audience that I have. Yeah. And for those who are still joining in, we are talking about rebranding yourselves. And I've talked about a question that I was asked that led to this topic, the power of rebranding. And you're not too late to join in. And for those who are going to be watching maybe the recorded live stream, please, you're at the right place. Yeah. So tomorrow I'm also going to be uploading at an episode, and I just need your support. Kindly join at 9 p.m. Kenyan time and what will you do? Just come watch my videos and like it, comment. You can as well share. Like right now, you can also share my live. So yeah, thank you so much. I don't understand the meaning of these two emojis, Nicholas. So maybe if you have something to say about it. So I was talking about personal rebranding, and I wanted now to give the meaning of personal branding. And as I've said before, I'm not going to use the normal social media. Most people are doing personal. Okay, we have professionals in personal branding, so I'm not going to use the kind of words they tell us when it comes to rebranding ourselves. I'm just like going to give my own opinion when it comes to rebranding. And when most people hear about this word rebranding, most of them think about the aesthetics that come with it. Some think about the captions that come with it. If you go through some people's social media pages, I not being an exemption, you'll find that we have a bio there. On the bios, like we've written what we do. So it's not about that. It's not about the colors that maybe are brighter to us. And it's not about the curated photos that make everything eye-catching. You understand? That to me, I think I can call it the shallow end of a pool. And real rebranding mostly begins internally as to how I was I was explaining before, I was giving a brief on how this topic came by. Using the question, I was talking about now the inner person accepting the kind of vision that you bear. If that person really can live the kind of vision that you really want, you understand, the kind of life that you really want. So personal branding, okay, rebranding, I mean, begins internally, and it's mostly uncomfortable. And there is this saying that says that the one who hides their wound cannot expect healing. And even if you look at these wounds, the power of a wound, you have to let it dry up, because the more you keep on closing it, the more it keeps on getting worse. Even the medics out there will always tell you that you need to like let it at times get fresh air. You understand? So what this really mean is that it's simple, but I can say it's kind of brutal. You cannot like reinvent yourself while pretending that your past didn't happen. Now this is now where you can't like cover your wound and expect healing from it. So true rebranding is not erasure. It's not about you erasing something. It's just you reintegrating something. It's integration. And you don't like delete your old self because you're trying like to do away with it. It's just you now repositioning yourself. So rebranding is the moment now where an adult or maybe someone has to sit down and work on the version of them, or the version of them that really needed survival, and it can't really carry them into their future. So that is basically what rebranding is. And what was I saying about this? At times, you taking that bold step to just like re-identify yourself, the decision mostly is always a heavy one, because survival versions of us are kind of familiar, but mostly they've been kept alive. The letting them go away, like, okay, letting them go, or maybe you just letting it slide, feels like self-betrayal, and at times you feel like you're limiting yourself, so you just have to like hold on it. You understand? Yeah. So let me tell you this, like, I think I'm just gonna give an example. There are people who actually grew up being praised only when they were quiet, and they were also like praised mostly when they were helpful. They just like brought help within the surrounding, and maybe they were too accommodating. So they always have a different kind of version that works for them. So mostly this version of them that kept on being praised, it learned how to maintain peace, it learned how to avoid conflict, and it also learned how to earn approval. So years later, when these people like grow up, these people mostly struggle to set boundaries and also to advocate for themselves, or maybe lead when now leadership needs to be applied. So rebranding basically for them means they have to learn to disappoint people, something that no one is willing to do. And mostly it's not cosmetic, and it's like it's more of a psychological surgery. Like they need to torture they need to like readjust and start like learning new things that they would have learned long when they were still young. Understand? So that is basically what now the power of rebranding is, and how the power of rebranding looks like. Another subtopic I wanted to tackle before lest I forget was reasons as to why adult rebranding is painful. And I was talking about now, I gave an example. I've given an example of these people who they grew up receiving just because they were too accommodating, or maybe because they kept on doing things to just keep peace to keep peace in them. You understand? So these people at times now rebranding themselves looks painful to them, because they have to learn now some negative things that they used to assume it was positive on them. So what do I really mean when I say that reasons as to why adult rebranding is painful, and why is it even good? Why is it even a good, like, is it Is it okay? Is adult rebranding painful? It's painful because you now have to acquire to get a different version of you that wasn't you. But then again, I feel like it's a good sign because growth feels like loss before it feels like freedom. So most adults or most people delay rebuilding or rebranding because it feels like grief, and this now makes them lose relationships. This makes them lose their old dynamics or the old the dynamics of life, and it makes them lose their old excuses and old identities of people that they were comfortable with before. And in mental health, okay, there is this mental health reality where now the brain prefers familiarity over the truth. So this is why most people in identities that no longer fit them, they find it like it's kind of tough on their side, and the pain of staying feels none. So the pain of growth mostly feels uncertain when someone is trying to like re-identify themselves from the older self they were before. So let me be honest. If rebranding feels easy, you are probably just rebranding your image and not just your character. So rebranding basically, as I've told you before, it starts internally. So you need to like start by your character. You need to work on your character, your image before now. The moment you start working on your character or maybe your image, it turns out to be the most painful thing because now you're going to lose people along the way. You're going to lose so many things that you are connected to before. And if I'm to be more honest with you, what is it? If I'm to be more honest with you, this journey is not an easy journey. It's going to be one tough journey, and that will really need you to sacrifice a lot. And true rebranding at times has got questions that you really need to ask yourself, like, why is it that I'm reacting this way, you know? Before then, remember, I've told you that there is this person who grew up receiving praises because they were too accommodative. Now you now start not being accommodative. You now have to set boundaries, you understand? So you keep on questioning yourself, like, why am I even doing this? Like, why do I have to avoid responsibility here? You like now you have to choose yourself, and you can't like keep on praising people. You can't keep on tolerating people who are just like there. Hussein Abdinur. Hello, I'm from Kenya. Hi Hussein, welcome. Kindly subscribe to my channel. Yegon Drop said hi. Hi Yegon. Kindly subscribe to my channel. I really do appreciate your presence here. And don't forget to like. That's the most important too. You can as well share my live stream. Where are you from, please? I'm from Kenya. Thank you. Why are you asking? I'm from Kenya. Thank you. So yeah, we are talking personal. Okay, we're talking about rebranding yourself. It's just basically re-identifying yourself. This is a new year, and I want us to grace this year with some change. We have to leave some characters behind because we're just like trying to re-identify ourselves as human beings. Yeah. Any other question that anyone here wants to ask? So I was talking about some of the questions that rebranding comes with. I was also like asking, there is this question that says that, why do I shrink? Why do I have to shrink in certain rooms? You know, before then, when you were too accommodative, you were not feeling, you couldn't feel like you're shrinking. But the moment like you've started now relearning yourself and you're trying to re-identify yourself, you realize that there's some places that that don't really fit you. And if you go to those places, you'll actually feel like you're drowning and not even staying afloat. So this is mostly an adult work, or let me say it's just like a human being thing. It's not basically for applause, but it's for yourself realignment. So it's basically alignment. Another subtopic I wanted to tackle before I forget, I had to write them down because this was one of the hardest questions someone has ever asked me. So, rebranding and in relation to mental wellness. Yeah, because I'm a great advocate of mental wellnesses, so I'm here to just like give maybe how they correlate and the invisible connection that comes between rebranding and mental wellnesses. So mental wellnesses is not just about reducing anxiety or sadness. It's mostly, if I can find the word, it's basically coherence, where like your inside need to match with how you live outside. So many people are really mentally exhausted, not because life is hard for them, but it's because they're living out of alignment with who they really have become. You understand? So remember that a person who wears another person's shoe will never walk far. You're the person who, okay, you understand how your shoe fits. So if someone else if someone else has to put on your shoe, they really can't walk far because they'll feel uncomfortable. So when you're really living a life that is kind of that is designed for a version of you that really doesn't exist, now there an inevitable burnout now comes in. You understand? So rebranding at times it's mostly a compassionate thing that you can just like for your mental health. And to think of it, I've seen people who really change nothing externally, but they now change how they define themselves. And some people will actually talk about how their anxiety has kind of reduced, and not because life became easier for them, but it's basically because they stopped fighting for themselves. And a good example too is me. I i also like changed how I viewed okay, not about how I viewed myself. I changed so much in me when it comes to how I lead outside and how I lead my own self. Like, what do I really want for myself? Yeah, I had to like work on it. And I used to battle. Okay, I was camera shy before, even when I was starting this journey, my YouTube journey. And right now I can say like I'm doing really good. At times I also like had I was kind of, how can I say, the fear of crowd. I've forgotten that name, that term. The fear of crowd. I feared crowded places, but right now I'm kind of adjusting. Like, I know how to stay in a place that is kind of crowded. I can at least now I can now have a sit down with someone who is kind of uh, more experienced than me and have a one-on-one chat with this person, something that I wasn't like flexible enough to do when I was young. So another thing that I'm quickly going to talk about is the lie of instant branding. I think this is basically the myths that come with it. So social media mostly will lie to us, and that's why I told you like I'm not going to explain this basically in terms of social media. It has taught people to announce rebranding instead of doing it quietly. Yes, and there is something that of late I've noticed on TikTok and Instagram. Most people there, I think most people there, they're okay, both men and ladies doing this. Most of them are talking about decentering men. They're teaching women on how to decenter men. They're talking about choosing yourself. So they have to like help you announce yourself that you're choosing yourself. You can't like walk through the journey without getting validation from people on social media. So like you'll find them saying that ever since I noticed I knew my self-worth, I had to learn how to walk away. So that is basically what social media has taught us when it now comes to rebranding. And the real rebranding mostly is often invisible for a very long time. because no applause is needed here. It's now you working on yourself. There is no validation that needs to be approved here, and it's just like self-discipline that needs to be exhibited here. So there is this thing that says, there is this, I think it's a quote that says that you just don't rise to the level of your goals, but you can fall to the level of your own system. So like, you don't have to seek validation from outside for you to be able to re-identify yourself, or maybe walk yourself through a bigger journey. So basically what I'm trying to say is that rebranding is not like saying I'm a new person. It doesn't like, you don't have to get clarity from people, or maybe someone will start saying, I learned how to okay, what is this, they'll start saying that I stopped pleasing everyone. So why are you telling people? It's now you working on it. Mostly it should be invisible. Let even the people around you not notice any change in you. They'll start like noticing in character. As I've told you, rebranding is basically, it's built from the inside. You start by building the character and your image first. So the image that people viewed before needs to also be seen as a different view, and it should happen silently. You don't have to go and announce it. And that's why I told you, like, even the personal branding strategists, they'll tell you more about how to work on your outer look instead of your inner look. You understand? So what I'm trying to say here is that your habits really support this new identity. And as I've said, if truly you are accommodative, you are too accommodative, like you wouldn't say no, let someone now start seeing that you can at least start. Okay, right now, like, you're a changed person, like you can really say no. You can't like take everything in. Let the conversations look like okay, let them feel like they've changed. You don't have to use the same type of talk every day. When you're talking to someone, you just have the same thing that you want to talk about. You don't have any other thing that you let them feel something has really changed in you. And also your standards needs to rise. And something to take home: standards rises without validations. You don't have to tell people that my standards have risen. People will basically see it if truly your standards have risen. So rebranding, as I've said before, and I'll keep on saying, it's built on you working on your character. And when it comes again to rebranding, you also need to know that the people's access to you kind of has been restricted. Like, before then, maybe it wasn't like so people wouldn't like think twice before coming to you. They will just like, this person is this way, let me just go. So like right now they have to like think twice, like, what am I going to tell Victory right now, and how is she gonna perceive my information? You understand? So if your systems don't really change, that rebranding of yourself is kind of cosmetic. It's not strategic. You understand? Yes. Hello, how are you? Yeah, so another thing I'm going to talk, I think it's the second last subtopic before I end this live stream. Yeah. So there is this one that says letting people misunderstand you. So it's basically one of the hardest thing. Okay, it's one of the hardest parts when it comes to rebranding, because people really understood you, people will predict you, people knew how to handle you, and right now you've come with a version that now no one knows your moves, no one really understands you. Like, everything you do has to be perceived differently. So when you rebrand, people who benefited from you, from the old you, will actually resist the new version of you. That doesn't mean that you are wrong. It means that a contract has really been changed. And a quiet truth of adulting, or a quiet truth when it comes to rebranding, is that not everyone deserves access to the rebranded version of you again. Now this is now where people now start talking about the circles, like, I had to do away with these people. I had to let go of some people in my life for me to be able to work on my inner self. You understand? So some people only knew you. Okay, they some people only knew how you really related to them, and they knew like your weaknesses, they knew your silence, how it communicated to them. They knew that mostly maybe you were just overgiving to them, so they were just there to take things from you. And so when you choose to like create a change here, they always mostly feel disoriented. And that discomfort is not your responsibility to fix. It's now upon them to start fixing that myth that they believed about you, that wrong they believed about you, the wrong they perceived before. You understand? Yes. Now, I'm going to also talk about rebranding now when it now comes in form of leadership, rebranding as leadership. Rebranding as leadership, and especially I'm going to talk about self leadership. We're not talking about this person in you who is asked if truly they can live the life that you carry vision for. You understand? Yeah. So you cannot lead your life effectively. You can actually not live your life effectively if you're still negotiating with your old fears. And this is why tomorrow's episode now comes in handy. I've told you I'll be dropping an episode tomorrow at 9 p.m. Kenyan time about self leadership and becoming the CEO of your own life. So it's important. I think most of it is going to tackle much about rebranding as leadership, and because rebranding without leadership turns into confusion, leadership without rebranding again will actually turn into ego, as to how I understand this whole concept. And a CEO or any founder or any person who is just a leader, when it comes to self leadership, does not really operate emotionally every day. They at times operate strategically. They have to like because rebranding has taught them to choose. It has taught them to make decisions and stop reacting anyhowly. You understand now. So yeah, that is basically it about rebranding, what I had for you. And I think like maybe I've spoken sense to some of you, or I don't know if there is something else that I need to talk about. So if there is something that you feel like I haven't talked about, and oh, lest I forget, I'm also going to talk about how rebranding again threatens relationships. So when you change internally, people around you feel like uh okay okay, when you change internally, people around you feel feel it before they really can understand you again. So some people will basically resist you, and it's not because you are wrong to do that. Maybe you're not wrong to create that change, but it's because your growth has establishes it has actually established the familiar dynamics they understood before. And if your old version or that old self was really predictable, your new self really is now disruptive. And now this is now where self leadership becomes more essential. So uh, you really have to decide for your own self if truly you're going to manage the growth to keep people comfortable out there or maybe uncomfortable. And also you need to ask yourself if truly you're going to manage the discomfort to stay aligned, because remember before then you are not aligned. You expected validation from the outside. So what else did I want to talk about? I just felt like there is something I'm leaving behind. I think let me just talk about maybe auditing. I think self audit. Rebranding again is that truest form of an audit. And it's now where you'll start asking yourself like, what do people think of me? And that normal question now turns out to look different. Like you'll be like, what patterns do I repeat when they really no longer serve me? So I think that's now basically it about rebranding being an audit. So yeah, I think I've tackled everything I wanted to talk about today. And if there is something I've left behind, kindly remind me. So let me just conclude in here. We've spent 44 minutes. Oh my, thank you so much. We've spent 44 minutes, and I think this is where I'm gonna end this live stream from. Maybe before I end, I'll I'll just give you some reflections and maybe directions. So as we close slowly, I want you to sit with this truth that rebranding is not about becoming someone else. It's it's basically more of an honest opinion about who already you are. And it requires attitude, it requires courage, it requires self-discipline for you to be able to re-identify yourself. And it also requires faith from God, because God is the ultimate giver of faith. So I want to thank God again for allowing this space to exist, for allowing the connection between I and my audience, for allowing the growth that we've had as a family, and for allowing trust between us and those people who have patronized me before. And I just want to say, I want to thank every single one of you who has subscribed to my channel. I want to thank everyone who watches, everyone who listens to me, and everyone who helps me reflect. So remember, you don't need permission to evolve. You just need responsibility for your own self. So this has been Joy Victory TV. My name is Joy Victory, and please stay tuned for tomorrow, because tomorrow I'm gonna be uploading a new episode at 9 p.m. Kenyan time. I think West African time it's gonna be 7 p.m. West African time, and South African time it's gonna be 8 p.m. South African time. So about the American time, 7 hours behind, and the Brazil time, because I also have audience from Brazil. I can't tell the exact time. Brazil will stay tuned. Yeah, so as we drop our very first episode of the year 2026 on self leadership and becoming the CEO of your own life. So until then, be intentional, be honest with yourself, and don't be afraid to rebrand properly, because rebranding is self identity. Thank you so much once again. Thank you so much for joining in today. I really do appreciate your presence. Hi, you've just joined in when I am about to leave. Thank you so much for joining in. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to like. That's the most important thing. In the meantime, let me just say, be intentional with yourself, love yourself more, choose yourself, put yourself first, because no one is going to applaud other than you choosing yourself and celebrating yourself each and every single day. So this has been rebranding session. Stay tuned tomorrow for self-leadership and becoming the CEO of your own life. Until next, see you. Bye.